In the next few minutes, you will understand why most men are ignored and why a rare few, without being the most handsome or the richest, become emotional addictions. This is not a video filled with nice phrases. It is a surgical dissection of the invisible power that governs every conversation between you and a woman. While others chase the right words to be liked, you will learn how to turn every word into a strategic weapon. You will see how to install a mental frame of dominance without ever raising your voice, how to transform her tests into invitations, openings to seduce her subconscious, and how to carve your presence in her mind with the precision of a political scalpel. Has it ever happened that you start a conversation perfectly and yet, suddenly, she loses interest? It was not your clothes, it was not your looks, it was your energy, an imperceptible mistake that her instinct detected within seconds. That moment when your gaze wavered, when your tone softened, when your need became louder than your center. Why do some women seem immune to logic, yet become obsessed with men who do nothing extraordinary? The answer lies in what Machiavelli never wrote in his books, but lived through every political move. He understood that power is never what you show, it is what you make others feel without a single word. This video is not based on what you can find on Google. It is drawn from private letters, hidden analyses, and unspoken strategies of psychological warfare, principles that still rule the silent battlefield between desire and perception. Here, you will not receive soft advice, you will receive precision bullets. But I warn you, once you understand these strategies, you will never be able to unsee them. You will be responsible for every look you provoke, every word you release, every mind you mark. So if you are fragile, stop the video now. But if you are ready to learn the difference between a common man and a conversational strategist, stay. Because in the next few minutes, you are going to master a new code of power, one not taught in books, but earned in battles. And this, brother, begins now. Most men enter a conversation seeking approval. That already leaves them dead before they even speak. Because what you do not understand is this: every interaction is a silent negotiation of power. And if you do not claim the psychological territory first, she will do it for you. Machiavelli never wrote about seduction, but he understood the anatomy of human power better than anyone who ever lived. He knew that every political, social, or intimate exchange is ruled by an invisible hierarchy, where one leads and the other follows. The secret is to lead without the other person ever realizing it. In his lesser-known writings, Machiavelli revealed a brutal truth: he who seeks to be loved by everyone will be betrayed by most. What does that mean for you? It means that the man who lives to please loses respect before he even begins. Attraction does not grow from being liked, it is born from tension. The men she remembers are never the ones who said the perfect words. They are the ones who stirred emotional chaos inside her, and that cannot be achieved with flowers or flattery. It comes only from an inner architecture of power, one that is not negotiable. Picture this: a man walks up to a woman, he smiles too much. He nods at everything she says. He showers her with endless compliments. Do you know what he is really communicating? Please, accept me. Meanwhile, another man approaches without a single trace of need. He listens. He observes. He speaks little, but every word carries weight. His energy says, I have already accepted myself. The question is, can you exist in my world? That is the map of invisible power. Machiavelli never needed to shout to dominate. He used silence as a weapon, because silence breeds discomfort, and discomfort commands attention. Every well-timed pause in a conversation is a step forward in controlling the emotional frame. But even more lethal than silence is unpredictability. Machiavelli understood that what is predictable never commands respect. A man who always reacts the same way, who never breaks the rhythm, who always says the right thing, is quickly filed away by the female mind as safe but forgettable. Do you want to leave a mark? Then fracture the pattern. Introduce unexpected pauses, change the rhythm, drop a statement, and refuse to explain it. Let your gaze carry mystery instead of reassurance. Her subconscious will begin to whisper, what is this man thinking? And that question, brother, is where desire begins. Because here's the brutal truth. The first one who tries to impress loses. The first one who shows need kneels. And the first one who breaks the silence does so because he cannot handle the pressure of not being validated. She feels it. She does not think it. She feels it. And that is where most men fail. They think they are having a casual chat, but in reality, they are stepping into a subconscious duel, where every gesture, every tone, every second of silence communicates hierarchy. Machiavelli called it the theater of power. In his world, every prince needed a public image stronger than his real strength. In modern conversation, that image is not your looks. It is your inner frame, your ability to project a reality she accepts as superior without you ever claiming it. This is not about being fake. It is about cultivating an inner certainty so firm that you never need to prove yourself. And how do you cultivate that certainty? Through micro decisions. You do not answer questions that do not deserve answers. You do not justify your mood. You do not over-explain your past. And you never, ever apologize for who you are. If you disagree with something she says, you hold your ground calmly. You do not debate to win, you state to solidify. I understand your point, but I see life differently. Said with calm conviction, that single line is worth more than 1,000 compliments. She may not agree with you. Perfect. You are not seeking approval. You are offering access to a world that does not need her validation. And to her subconscious, that is irresistibly rare. Do you know why? Because most people are desperate to be liked. You, on the other hand, are willing to lose the interaction before betraying your frame. That is not arrogance. It is strategy. And in the female mind, strategy translates into stability, security, power. Machiavelli understood that the one who controls perception controls reality. That is why he did not aim to be fair. He aimed to be effective. You are not here to be remembered as a good guy. You are here to be remembered as a man who does not beg for what he can create. And that, brother, begins with how you speak. But even more importantly, from where you speak. A woman is not attracted to what you say. She is drawn to the frame from which you say it. The fatal mistake is entering a conversation reacting. She says something, you respond. She tests, you justify. She doubts, you rush to fix it. From that moment, you are no longer leading. You are validating. And if you are validating, you have already lost. The dominant frame is never imposed. It is installed. And once it is installed, everything that happens will orbit around it. Machiavelli understood that real power is never declared. It is assumed as natural. The prince did not say, I am the leader. He simply behaved as if he already were. He never asked for permission. He never sought approval. He never lowered himself to convince. The frame is not spoken. It is transmitted through silence, certainty, and direction. So, how do you apply this in a conversation? First, never enter her frame. What does that mean? If she throws a sarcastic joke, you do not justify yourself. If she tries to spark jealousy, you do not play her game. If she challenges you with logic, you respond with emotional calm, because the emotional frame always defeats the intellectual one. Always. She says, you're one of those guys who use internet phrases. You reply, yes, but only the ones that work. Then, an enigmatic smile. You are not defending, you are redirecting. The dominant frame is built like an invisible fortress. Every word you speak has intention. Every pause communicates control. Every gesture aligns with your inner narrative. And that narrative is not, I want you to like me. It is, I am here to see if you can keep up with me. Machiavelli advised his princes to cultivate an aura of calculated mystery. Not too accessible, not too distant, just enough to create doubt. And that doubt, my friend, is oxygen for attraction. So apply this. Instead of replying to every message instantly, leave strategic space. Instead of revealing everything in the first conversation, drop clues that suggest, but never close the circle. Once something happened to me in Madrid, but that's a long story. Then change the subject. The void feeds imagination, and the female imagination is the soil where obsession grows. Do not get it twisted. This is not manipulation. It is strategic direction. You are not lying, you are pacing your presence. Because the dominant frame lives not only in what you say, but in what you withhold. Second principle, direct the narrative. In every conversation, there is an unspoken story. Are you trying to convince her that you are special, or is she trying to uncover what makes you different? The frame is defined by who adapts to whom. You do not compete with other men. You are the standard by which they are compared, and that standard is communicated without words, through your emotional detachment. If she leaves, you do not chase. If she goes silent, you do not flinch. Why? Because you do not need to win the conversation. You already won the moment you mastered yourself. Third principle, shift the focus of attention. The average man makes everything revolve around her. He asks endless questions, compliments without purpose, and gives validation for free. You do something different. When she asks you a question, you return it with a deeper one. She says, "What do you like in a woman?" You answer, "Depends." Do you want to be desired or understood? That single question flips the polarity. Now she is the one seeking your approval, not the other way around. These responses do more than display emotional intelligence. They reveal strategic superiority. And superiority, when handled without arrogance, is one of the most powerful aphrodisiacs. Machiavelli wrote, "There is nothing harder to sustain than a new order." That is why maintaining your frame requires discipline. You will be tested, you will be challenged, but every test you pass becomes another brick in the fortress of your presence. And here lies one of the most ignored truths. The dominant frame does not shout, does not exaggerate, does not prove, it implies. If you must prove that you are valuable, you are not. If you can walk away in silence when you are not valued, your frame is already installed. True authority is silent. It shows in how you enter a room, in how you take up space without asking permission, in how you listen more than you speak, in how you decide when a conversation ends. Try this. Next time you talk to a woman, count how many times you react. Then shift the focus. Ask open-ended questions. Make observations that do not seek approval. Hold long pauses and remain comfortable in them. Watch the energy shift. You will see her start to adjust her rhythm to yours without even realizing it. And here's a final tactic, little known but lethal. The frame by omission, meaning what you don't say also speaks. She asks, "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" You smile and say, "Let's just say I'm more selective than most." That answer disarms, suggests, and elevates your status without justification. And now, the golden closure of this principle. Your frame is not explained, it is felt. If you must say you are alpha, you are not. If you must justify your confidence, you have already lost it. But if you can stand in front of a woman without the need to prove anything, you have already won. That, brother, is the Machiavellian essence applied to the modern battlefield, the conversation. Attraction is never logical. It is biological. It does not respond to what you think should work. It responds to what awakens her most primitive subconscious. Machiavelli, though a politician, understood the animal side of human nature. He knew that people are not moved by reason, but by emotion. And if that truth governs entire nations, imagine how deeply it rules the mind of a single woman standing before you. There is an illusion that destroys thousands of men. The belief that they can convince her with logic, that if they simply explain their good intentions, she will choose them. But the female subconscious does not seek logic. It seeks power, direction, leadership, emotional control, and genetic rarity. It searches for invisible signals, cues that tell her whether she can trust you, not with her mind, but with her instinct. Attraction is never something you create by choice. It is something she cannot help but feel. If you try to force it, you destroy it. If you embody it, you awaken it. And this is where Machiavellian psychology begins to unfold. He understood that true control is not over the other person, but over the perception the other person has of you. If you can install an image of unshakable composure, her instinct will start to see you as a reference point, a presence worth orbiting around. But be careful, that image is not built with arrogance or words, it is built with energy. Have you ever noticed how some men carry a weight in their presence that has nothing to do with Selective? That is inner calm, the kind that never seeks approval. That relaxed posture that says, "I do not chase. I set the pace." When you are with a woman, every fiber of your being is transmitting signals. The tone of your voice, the rhythm of your speech, the way you take up space, the depth of your breathing. All of it tells her whether you are a man who can lead, protect, and challenge. Machiavelli said, "The perception of power is as important as power itself." So even if you are still building yourself, you can still be perceived as powerful. if you learn to control what you project, not by pretending, but by embodying. Do not say you are ambitious. Show it in how you talk about your plans without needing her validation. Do not say you are emotionally mature. Show it by staying calm in the middle of her emotional storm, anchored in your center. That, brother, is what her biological radar detects. Not your clothes, not your height, not your income, but whether you can hold your ground when she tests your limits. And how does she test those limits? Through sarcasm, through silence, through contradictions and sudden shifts of mood. She does not do it because she is cruel. She does it because her subconscious needs to know, can I trust this man when the storm comes? Because real attraction is never born in comfort. It is revealed in tension. And here lies a brutal truth. She wants to feel that you can lead even when she loses control. She does not want you to control her. She wants you to contain her. And you can only do that when your center does not depend on her. The fatal mistake is reacting to every feminine emotion as if it were personal. It is not. She is playing emotional chess. You decide whether to play or to lead. When she says, all men are the same, do not justify yourself. Do not explain that you are different. Just look at her calmly and say, then you'll be surprised when you meet me. No defense, no persuasion, just the quiet assertion of difference, without needing her to understand it immediately. That is what activates her biological radar, not your effort, but your solidity. And here comes a deeper Machiavellian secret. Do not aim to be the best. Aim to be the hardest to replace. Psychological exclusivity is far more powerful than superficial perfection. You can be imperfect, you can make mistakes, but if you offer a unique emotional experience, if she feels something with you that cannot be replicated, you have already won. That uniqueness is not built with words. It is crafted through emotional paradoxes, being firm yet empathetic, mysterious yet accessible, warm yet untamable. It is that contrast that leaves your mark. Machiavelli understood this well. A great leader is never predictable. He is reliable in essence, but unpredictable in form. And what does the female brain seek above all? Stability under pressure. Because in evolutionary terms, that equals protection, leadership, and rarity, 3 biological triggers that activate attraction beyond logic. Fourth weapon, emotional contrast. Speak in a relaxed tone, but drop sharp lines. Show tenderness in small things, then return to your firm posture. This swing in emotion creates an experience that cannot be categorized, and what cannot be categorized is remembered. For example, you are talking about music. She says she likes some pop artist. You respond, interesting. Didn't take you for someone who likes predictable things. Then you smile and change the topic. That is not arrogance. That is a controlled disruption, a mini crisis in her self-image. And whoever can create a mini crisis without being offensive installs emotional dominance. Machiavelli used this on nobles, delivering uncomfortable truths disguised as ambiguous compliments. The result? They thought about him for days. You will do the same, but not in politics, in the arena of emotion with a woman whose mind craves what logic cannot explain. Fifth weapon, selective attention. Total validation is boring. Complete indifference is repellent. The lethal point lies between the two. Validate only what you truly admire. Ignore what's designed to bait your attention. If she says something impressive, look at her and say, not bad. Then stay silent. Do not amplify, do not celebrate, simply calibrate. Because she is not just seeking to be heard. She's searching to be understood by someone who cannot be bought with exaggerated reactions. Sixth weapon, elegant diversion. When she asks a question that implies control, you respond with a story. You do not give data, you give direction. She asks, "What do you do exactly?" You answer, "Depends on the day. Sometimes I conquer empires, other times I just have a late breakfast." Then shift the topic. That is not evasion, it is evocation. You are not hiding, you are transforming logic into mystery. And mystery, brother, is the fertilizer of desire. Seventh weapon, the strategic gaze. Do not look like an interrogator. Do not look like a thirsty man. Look like a reader who already knows what he is about to discover. Hold 1 extra second of eye contact after her response. Add a subtle pause after something emotional. That gaze, calm, observant, unshaken, says without words, "I am here. And I see more than what you say." When you combine these weapons, you create conversations that cannot be forgotten. Not because you spoke magic words, but because you triggered emotions no one else could. That makes you an experience, not a man she met. There's a moment in every conversation when tension shifts. She throws a test, a line that sounds harmless, but secretly measures your structure. It could be a tease, a disguised challenge, a quiet, "let's see if this gets to him." And most men fail. They react, they justify, they defend, they lose their frame without even realizing it. This is where the art of invisible counterattacks begins. Techniques not to defeat her, but to redirect the energy while keeping your center intact. It is not confrontation, it is verbal alchemy. Machiavelli knew this truth well. The wise prince avoids open war, but must always be prepared for the silent battle. And for you, that battle is psychological. The instant she tests whether you are a man, or just a boy wearing confidence as costume. Typical example, she says, "Do you always talk this confidently?" You respond, "No, not always. Sometimes I'm even worse." Then smile. Invisible counterattack activated. No defense, no justification. You turn the hit into play. Another example. She says, "Do you think all women are the same?" Wrong answer, "No, not at all." "I respect all women." Correct answer, "No, but some are so synchronized it feels like a union." Subtle, playful, unexpected. You didn't fight, you redirected. Because the goal is not aggression, it is to show that you are unaffected. True masculinity, in its strategic form, is not imposed, it is proven by never being destabilized. She does not want a warrior who always attacks, she wants one who never drops his sword, even in peace. And now, another tactic, the calculated non-response. Not everything deserves an answer. Sometimes the greatest power lies in a pause, a half smile, a held gaze, and a subtle shift of topic. That conscious omission whispers, "I could respond, but I will not give you that pleasure yet." Machiavelli mastered this with ambassadors. He would leave them without closure, unsure whether they had won or lost. That is power. Not the one who shouts, but the one who leaves others wondering who was really in control. Another subtle counterattack, the mirror question. She throws, "You use this with all women?" You reply, "Why does it matter?" Now she is the one explaining her curiosity. You have redirected the pressure. Even better, say it with a neutral, ambiguous tone, disarming, calm. Now she begins questioning her own intention. What you're doing here is simple. You invert the tension. You do not escape, reject, or attack. You absorb it and redirect it. To master this art, you must train one skill: emotional neutrality in the face of the unexpected. Machiavelli said the prince must be like the fox, cunning, adaptable, silent. The fox does not roar. It observes, calculates, and when it acts, it has already won before moving. You do the same. When she enters test mode, you do not tense up. You do not confront. You disarm, softly, with strategic elegance. Another weapon, role inversion. She says, "Let's see, prove to me you're not like the rest." You reply, "And have you already proven that you're worth the risk?" Now the frame shifts. You are no longer being evaluated. You are the one evaluating. That subtle twist changes the emotional architecture of the conversation. She is no longer above, she is inside your world, playing by your rules. Another powerful tactic, playful reframing. She says, "You're always this arrogant." You answer, "Only when I'm in front of someone who can handle it." Challenge and play, firmness and humor. Masculinity that does not apologize for its intensity. And most powerful of all, detachment as the final tactic. If you feel the conversation going nowhere, if she slips into validation mode or power play, you withdraw, not coldly, but with calm certainty. You smile and say, "I think we're not in sync today." Then you walk away. That strategic withdrawal is not defeat, it is dominance. Because you make it clear, your presence is not guaranteed, your time is gold, and you decide where to invest it. And that, brother, is the Machiavellian essence of the invisible counterattack. Winning without fighting, leading without imposing, disarming without confrontation. You already know the weapons, the frame, the radar, the psychology, but now we reach the highest level. Because there exists something far more dangerous than attraction, more potent than desire, obsession. And obsession is not caused by beauty, it is caused by unfinished perception. Machiavelli understood that humans are not driven by what they possess, but by what they almost grasp, what they desire but cannot master, what they feel but cannot explain. Applied to conversation, a woman does not become obsessed with what she understands about you. She becomes obsessed with what she cannot decode, what you begin but never finish, what you suggest but never reveal. This is the final code. Become an unfinished story in her mind. How do you do that? First, use the emotional cliffhanger technique. Share an anecdote heavy with emotion, but stop before it ends. "I once came close to losing everything because of a decision that seemed smart, but that's another story." Then, silence. Change the subject. She will stay with the tension. Because there's a thread left open, and the human mind hates loose ends. Second, design internal contrasts. Be kind, but at key moments, show your untamable side. Be funny, but then pause with a serious line that makes her rethink everything. "You're intense, but I like that." Ambiguity, contradiction, emotional complexity. She cannot categorize you, and that, neurologically, hooks her. Third, use real emotional scarcity. You are not always available. You do not reveal your whole world immediately. Your attention unfolds gradually. Your story is released in fragments. You are the book that cannot be read in one night. Pause during conversations. Leave messages unresolved. Change your tone just when she feels safe. Obsession is born from emotional imbalance, and you control it when you break the pattern right before the climax. Fourth, the principle of emotional investment. Make her invest, make her share, make her open up. The more she invests emotionally, the more her mind will justify that bond, because the brain hates losing what it has already begun to build. But there is one more rule, the most invisible one, the one no manual teaches. Detach from the need to be understood. Men who crave to be understood talk too much. They over-explain, they want her to know their story, their pain, their path. But the men who create obsession, let her imagine it. They give her pieces, and let her mind build the rest. And in that construction, she projects. And what is projected sinks deeper than what is ever explained. When you master these principles, you stop being just a man she talks to, and become a narrative her mind keeps processing, even in silence. You are no longer a conversation, you are an intrigue, a nameless emotion, an echo she cannot silence. That, brother, is the real power. Not that she thinks of you when you're there, but that she cannot stop thinking of you when you're gone. If you've made it this far, you are not like the rest. You are one of the few who do not just want to understand the game, but to master it. You've learned the framework, the weapons, the silences, the codes, the contrasts, the strategic withdrawals. You've explored Machiavelli's silent power, translated into the modern field of relationships. But remember, knowledge without action is decay. Many men watch, feel powerful for a few minutes, and forget. They return to old habits, to explaining, reacting, begging, becoming subjects again when they could be strategists. You must decide whether that will be your story, or whether today marks a break from the weaker version of yourself. Because you are not here merely to attract women, you are here to become a man who does not need to chase anything, because his presence alone changes the temperature of the room. This is not manipulation, it is emotional leadership, born from authenticity. Power that does not shout, power that does not beg, power that does not compete, because it is already complete. Machiavelli wrote, "He who masters his passions dominates others without lifting a finger." And now, brother, you hold an arsenal that, if used consciously, can transform not only how women see you, but how you see yourself. Now you know the truth. Conversations aren't about words. They are about structure, about perception, about who leads the frame and who lives inside it. So here's the call. Apply it today. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait to be perfect, because the true strategist never waits for ideal conditions. He creates advantage in the middle of chaos. Pause right now and choose what you will apply today. Will you redirect a test? Will you install your frame effortlessly? Will you become a mystery instead of an explanation? Comment which principles struck you the hardest. And if this stirred something deep within you, subscribe. Because what's coming goes far beyond dating. It is a reconstruction of the masculine mind from the root. And before we close, remember this: real power isn't shouted, it isn't shown off, it isn't begged for. Real power is breathed, felt, and remembered. And you, if you apply this, will be remembered not as the one who tried, but as the one who mastered it.